Israelis on trial before the International Criminal Court, placing them on trial in various courts in the world under a theory called universal jurisdiction. And it directed these primarily at Israel because that's all that the Goldstone report thought was worth investigating. So if you take, for example, did the Hamas commit a crime of civilian shielding or perfidy in Shifa Hospital? Well, the Goldstone report has a simple answer, which is it couldn't find any evidence to support the allegations by the Israeli government that Shifa is used as a military base. Now, why didn't it find any evidence? Well, you read in between it says the mission did not investigate the case of Al-Shifa Hospital. It didn't look, and therefore it didn't find. Now, isn't that convenient? So most of you go through the report, and what you'll find is that it's based on an investigation, it says, of 36 particular incidents. Every single one of these incidents, by coincidence, involves a single party as the accused. Who's that accused party? Israel. Okay. Now, when it came to Israel, in accusing Israel, of course, it couldn't still wouldn't suffice simply accusing Israel in order to find it guilty, but it did for the Goldstone report. So I guess JJ is going to be talking more about the laws of war in relation to this, but this is a fairly typical way that the Goldstone report and others deal with it, right? You have, in the laws of war, one of the important things is what the parties intend. So, for example, it's a war crime to aim at civilians. It's not necessarily a war crime if a civilian gets killed. It's a war crime if you aimed at the civilians. Right? Now, what did the Goldstone report say? Well, civilians died. Israel must have committed a war crime. Why? Because Israel has sophisticated technology, and therefore no errors occurred. If a civilian is dead, Israel must have aimed at him. Now, there's other charming bits to this report that I wish I had time to go into. You know, like there's this bit about pop psychology, for example, where they quote a Palestinian psychiatrist explaining that the Palestinian in the eyes of the Israeli soldier is not an equal human being, sometimes even becomes a demon. It's because of a state of paranoia. Right? This is the sort of in-depth psychological examination that the Goldstone report included. But we'll have to leave it at that and move on to why is this important, right? Why is this document, the document number 2 million from the UN that condemns Israel, important to us? Well, the point of the document was to make sure that Israelis get put up on criminal charges around the world, and that's in fact what happens. Right? So here you have Tzipi Livni was threatened with arrest in South Africa, in the UK, on the basis of the alleged crimes that she performed that are proved by the Goldstone report. Or here was Shimon Peres was in Switzerland a little over a month ago, I guess it was, where they sought to arrest him for crimes that were proved by the Goldstone report. Now, does the Goldstone report prove any crimes by Shimon Peres? Well, not really, but it's still good for harassment. Right? The Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, has described this as the Goldstone threat. It's part of a larger campaign in order to try to criminalize, in essence, the entire leadership of Israel. Any Israeli leader